Hey everyone, Captain here, internet's busiest trend jumper. And I decided, you know what? Hey, everybody is doing these tier rankings or whatever, and I think it's kind of, funny and dumb at the same time that everybody is jumping on this trend because, yeah, if you've been around me a little bit, you know that, I think I'm better than everybody else because I don't like to follow trends, that kind of thing, even though I run a gameplay-based channel where I have basically adopted many facets of video game Let's Play trends and incorporated them into my own content, but I digress. Taking off the shtick, I thought it would be interesting to do like a little mini series, kind of straying away from gameplay a little bit and taking a look at these tier rankings that are really popular, and ones that have particular interest to me. And so we're looking at the rock and metal bands tier list. That is, it's like one of the top tiers if you search for rock on here. So, it's relatively easy to find, but I will link this to or in the description box below if you want to check it out for yourself. Now, granted, before we get into this, I would like to note that these are all my opinions. Okay, I don't want to. This isn't like a subjective take, or an objective take on where these guys stand. It is a subjective take, entirely my opinion. Just want to put that out there because I don't want to piss people off, but people will get mad about whatever they want to. So we've got, I think 6 tiers here: legendary, good, mad, bad, garbage, and haven't listened to. I already know a few bands are going to fall under haven't listened to, like Ice 9 Kills. We're going to throw in there. I can't even read that. Witch Card? Am I a moron? I can't read that, so I'm just going to throw that there. I've listened to like one. No, I've listened to a couple Polyphia songs. We'll keep them. But Meshuggah we'll throw in there too. And Deep Purple. So haven't listened to those to much of those 4. And my standard for that, I guess, is that if I've listened to more than a few songs by any one of these bands, then I can rank them somewhere. But if I haven't, then put them in there. All right, here we go. Let's make people mad. All right, My Chemical Romance. Haven't listened to a ton, definitely not all of their discography, but I think if I were to throw them anywhere, it would probably be under meh. I do enjoy some 2000s pop punk, not all of it. And I think these guys are kind of overrated. Based on everything that I have heard about them. Let me move this up. There we go. That's better. Based on everything that I've heard about them, little overrated. I've listened to some stuff and it's all right, but it's not worth the kind of love and praise that they get. All right, System of a Down. We're definitely going to put them. I'm going to throw them in the legendary category. I haven't listened to all of their discography. There's only one band on here, whose discography I've listened to in its entirety, and we'll get to them eventually. But these guys, based on what I've heard, I've listened to the Toxicity album, and I listened to, listened to the BYOB album. I think that's what that's called. I apologize. Okay, I'm not the most knowledgeable, but this is for fun. But everything I've heard, and I've heard some stuff from Serj Tankian and Darren Malakian, their own solo stuff, and I kind of lumped that in as well. And they put out some good stuff too, so I'll throw them in there. Anthrax, thrash. I'm gonna put them under garbage. I don't think they're that great. There's only I've listened to some songs from a few of their older albums, and they're just not good. Granted, thrash in the 80s, you know, the production is terrible a lot of the time. Like you're going to be hard pressed to find good production for metal back then. But I mean, I can't get behind it like that sound. Like the production is terrible. The mixing doesn't feel too good with any of their stuff. There's only one song, and it's a recent song that I was able to kind of get down with a little bit. Monster at the end. It came out in like 2016 or something. And I was like, all right, you know, this isn't terrible, but you know, they're not a big fan. Not a big fan. Garbage is like harsh, I think, you know. I think that's a harsh way to put it, but I think they got to fall under that tier. Korn, I'm going to throw these guys under good. I've heard quite a bit of their stuff. I'm not really a big fan of their early stuff, actually. I'm a bigger fan of their later stuff, which, you know, probably puts me at odds with every Korn fan that's out there. But, you know, I like, what was their 2016 album called? Or 2017, I don't know when it came out. But I'm a fan of that album. I like it quite a bit. I like the sound. I like the kind of thick, heavy production that comes with it. And I was also a fan of those songs that they did with Skrillex. You know, shame me all you want. I was a fan. So I'll put them under the good tier. I think they are a quality rock band, rock metal, you know, new metal, I guess. Gorillaz, I have not heard too much for them, but I would put them under meh. You know, I can't say that I have heard enough to make a true distinction between good and meh, but based on what I've heard, you know, it's all right. Like, it's not groundbreaking to me. You know, I know they got the whole animated thing going on for them, but that doesn't really appeal to me all that much. You know, and based on everything I've heard, they've kind of got this like Arctic Monkeys kind of sound, you know, similar, I guess. I'm slowly realizing that with every word I speak during this video, I'm probably pissing somebody off, but I think this is a good ranking for them. I don't think being meh is necessarily a bad thing. You know, I think I consider this like all right, you know. It's better than being bad or garbage, you know. I'll just say that. Iron Maiden, I'm going to put these guys probably under the good tier. I've listened to a decent chunk of their stuff. And granted, does get a little samey, but it's good shit. You know, like you know what you're getting out of them for one thing. I mean, I'm not very musically inclined, but you know, there are some riffs and some solos in their work that I can absolutely get down with. Can't think of the lead singer's name off the top of my head, but I like his vocals as well. I think, you know, I know that that's a little contentious based on what I've heard, you know, whether or not people like his vocals, but I'm a big fan of his vocal style and ability. Guns N' Roses, I think you got to put them under the meh category. You know, Appetite for Destruction is a good album, but you know, aside from that, you've got a lot of meh, I think, that they've put out. I've heard some other songs from them, including some songs where they kind of deviate from that rock sound a bit, and not a big fan of that stuff. I'm not even really a big fan of Appetite for Destruction, but you know, there are some good songs on that album, and I would argue that it is their best work. So that's kind of where, you know, where I sit on them. You know, I don't, again, like I don't possess complete knowledge on anybody's discography except for one band, you know, which I have not gotten to yet. Well, you know what? I mean, like 3 or 4 bands, actually. You know, I'm more knowledgeable than I give myself credit for, I guess. But I would throw them in there. Black Sabbath, I'm going to put them in the bad category. Fucking, I don't know, crucify me if you want. I don't know. You know, like I understand that they are they are considered to be the foundation from what metal is today, but I can't I can't really get down with that sound that, you know, with the production. I don't really like Ozzy's vocals all that much, to be honest. You know, and granted, I haven't listened to everything that they've put out, but, you know, based on what I have heard, not really a big fan of the vocals. You know, they like it. It feels like a weird mix of. I understand that at the time it was definitely, you know, what they were doing was experimental and you know, out there and progressive, but, you know, looking back on it now and kind of listening to it with a, you know, with a modern taste in music and a modern perspective, just kind of feels bland what they were doing. You know, the riffs kind of feel bland. Doesn't feel like there was a whole lot going on in that respect. So I got to throw them in there. AC/DC, you know, I'm gonna put them in the meh category. They have some catchy rock songs for sure, but there really isn't much more to them than that. You know, they've got some catchy stuff. You know, some anthemic rock songs, and that's really all they got going for them, in my eyes. You know, I can't imagine you would listen to AC/DC for any other reason other than you feel like listening to some kind of anthemic, loud rock song, you know, or something like that. I can't imagine you would want to listen to them for any other reason. You know, I know they're putting out a new album this year, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see where that, you know, what that encompasses. But, you know, based on everything I've heard from them, that's kind of what they're all about. Not really, I can get down with it from time to time, but I'm not really a big fan of it, generally speaking. So Queen, I think you got to put them. I'm not going to put them in the legendary category because I don't want to inherently give them that status. Legendary is reserved for the people that I think really are extremely good. And I think Queen, you know, I think they're a good band, hence why they're in the good tier. But, you know, I don't think they are, you know, based on everything that I have heard from them, you know, I don't think I can put them in the legendary tier. They have a lot of good stuff, for sure. A lot of stuff I've enjoyed, but at the end of the day, like, you know, it's just, I don't know, you know, it feels like, you know, if it went a little further, like if it gave me a little bit more of a push, I would put it here. But, you know, it's just, I can't really even explain why, you know, from a musical standpoint, why I wouldn't put them in the legendary category. But it's just, their music doesn't appeal to me that much, you know. And I think maybe that largely has to do with how overhyped they are, you know, a lot of the time. Like, you know, fucking everybody and their mother knows Bohemian Rhapsody, and everybody and their mother has to talk about it all the time, you know. It can get a little exhausting, you know, from time to time, and maybe that has kind of turned me off from their discography a bit. But I think I got to lump them in there. Foo Fighters, I think I would also put them in the good category. I've listened to quite a bit of their stuff, and you know, they are commonly pegged as like the kings of dad rock. But you know what, I wouldn't disagree with that necessarily. You know, but I do think that they have put out some interesting stuff as well. Like their newest album. Why am I blanking on all of these album names? Concrete and Gold. That's what it was. That album, I think it experiments a little bit and kind of deviates from that sound that they are known for while maintaining some of their core music principles. You know, but at the same time, like, again, it doesn't give me that push to put them in the legendary category. Same as Queen. Ghost, you know, based on what I've heard, you got to throw them in the good category. I like the kind of, they've got like an anthemic sound to them, but with a modern take, and it's not terrible. You know, there are so many modern rock and metal bands and metalcore bands that are like, you know, they go for these anthemic sounding songs and like they just sound terrible. Like they're just cringeworthy, you know. And Ghost, they kind of have their own unique spin on it, and their own unique way of approaching it, you know. And I enjoy it. You know, everything I've heard from them, I've pretty much enjoyed. Not to the extent of putting them in the legendary category, but you know, I think that they've got some solid stuff. Green Day, I'm gonna put them in the meh category. I've listened to quite a bit of their stuff. You know, it's kind of like the same thing as My Chemical Romance. It's like, you know, you can only take so much 2000 pop punk. And not only that, but like Green Day suffers from like this, I don't even really know how they could, you know, how could they should or could evolve their sound, but you know, they put out the same stuff all the time. You know, with each new album, it's like, yeah, this is Green Day, you know, and it gets a little tiresome. You know, it's not terrible, but it's like, you know, it could go a little further, I think. So it's my 2 cents on that. Linkin Park, these guys are my favorite band of all time. Hands down, of course, I'm going to put them in the legendary category. I have listened to all of their discography many times over. Absolutely going to put them up there. I don't think I even need to explain myself any further than that. Mastodon. Mastodon. You know what? I'm going to put them in the haven't listened to category, actually. I don't think I've listened to enough of them to have an informed opinion on them. I mean, I've listened to a couple songs of theirs, but not in a while, for one thing, but also like I don't really have a grasp on what their sound is, so I'm gonna put them in here. Megadeth, I think they fall under meh. You know, I mean, I know that there has been this whole thing between Megadeth and Metallica. But, I mean, you know, Megadeth is all right. I just like it's not, I don't know. You know, at some point, you know, and I guess it's not fair to these bands, but at some point, like, some of these bands like Megadeth and Green Day and My Chemical Romance and whatnot, they all kind of like, you know, within their respective genres, they all kind of start to sound the same as some of the other bands that are in that genre, you know. And I know that, you know, being in a genre or sharing a genre with other bands means that the sound is going to be close to the same. But, you know, like with Megadeth, it's like I feel like I've heard that before from other bands, and maybe they were the first ones to do it, but you know, and maybe it isn't their fault because of that, but you know, it's like it feels like what they've done, you know. And I've listened to some of their modern stuff too, and it's like I feel like I've heard that before, you know. And I don't think it's necessarily special that they did it, you know. I don't think that just because Megadeth has their name on it, that all of a sudden it gets elevated to a different tier, you know. It's my 2 cents. Metallica, I'm going to throw them in the legendary category. I've listened to most of their discography, and some of it does get repetitive, especially their modern stuff. But, I mean, the amount of times that I've taken, you know, I don't know, I've put my earbuds in or whatever and cranked up a Metallica song like One or Master of Puppets or what's another good one, Wherever I May Roam, you know. Turn up those songs to max volume and like fucking jam out, you know. The number of times that I've done that is more than I can count, and frankly, I think if a band has that kind of staying power, at least within me, that they deserve the legendary category, or the legendary tier rather. We're doing tiers. Motorhead, I'm gonna throw them. I'm going to put them under garbage. I can't stand the lead singer's vocals. Like I get what the sound is supposed to be, but I can't stand listening to that. Like it just sounds awful, you know, in my opinion. You know, musically they're not, or you know, from like an instrumental standpoint, they are not terrible, but the vocals are kind of what really kills it for me. You know, like I can't even get into anything, and like any of their music, you know. His vocals just really kind of kill me, you know. I can't, you know, and maybe that's unfair, but I mean, this is all opinion based, so, you know. Muse, I'm going to throw them under the good category. I like the blend of electronic and rock that they have. I think they do it better than most bands that ever try it. You know, I think that they've done it well for a long time. Granted, they've kind of moved more to an electronic sound in recent years, but I think that they still have that nice balance between the two without it ever really sounding all that poppy either, which I think is kind of not necessarily hard to do, but it's not something that you see too often. So I can appreciate it a great deal. Nirvana, hate me if you want. Hate me if you want. I don't like Kurt Cobain's vocals. I apologize, but it's not for me, man. You know, I can't do it. I can't do it. You know, like I listen to, what's it called? It's not Teenage Spirit. It's why am I blanking? That song that everybody knows. Let me look it up actually, because I'm so mad that I don't even remember what the name of the song is. I feel like an absolute moron. Nirvana songs. Let's see, was that the Smells Like Teen Spirit? There we go. You know, like, I mean, I can't even understand what he's saying, you know, and he's not, you know, growl vocals. I can understand why you wouldn't be able to understand what somebody is saying, you know, because they're growling, you know. It's like, I mean, that's kind of the idea, I guess, but I just, like, I can't get behind his vocals because it's so hard for me to understand anything he's saying. And instrumentally, they're not bad. You know, instrumentally, if we were looking entirely just at how they sound from that standpoint, they would probably be in the meh category, or the meh tier. But his vocals drop him down a peg in my eyes. You know, no disrespect meant, just in my opinion. Pantera, got to put them in the bad category as well. They've got some good songs. You know, I would say Walk is a classic. Love that song. Love the heavy riffs in that song. But I just can't find anything special about them, really. You know, and the once again, the lead singer's vocals kind of not really my thing at all. You know, I'm tempted to put them in the meh category, you know, but it's just like, I just don't think their stuff is good, really, you know, and at least in here, I think some of their stuff is good, you know, and I mean, I do think a couple songs from Pantera are good, but not enough to justify moving them up here, you know. Rage Against the Machine, okay, hate me for this again. I'm going to put them in the bad tier. All right, I don't like the lead singer's vocals. There's a common trend here. You know, like, I don't like them. I don't like his, you know, the way he raps. I don't like his flow. I don't like his style. And not only that, but I don't really like the instrumentation either. You know, like, I don't like the percussion in their songs, really. And it feels like their songs could go a lot harder, for lack of a better term, than they do. You know, they could, like, the riffs could be heavier, and you know, in that respect, they could go harder, but they don't. You know, and in my eyes, they don't take it far enough. I think so. Just my 2 cents. Red Hot Chili Peppers, I'm going to put them in the good category. I've listened to almost all of their discography to some extent, and while, again, they kind of suffer from the same thing that Green Day does, in that a lot of their stuff sounds the same, you know, I am all for that psychedelic rock, you know, and that kind of experimentation with different sounds, you know, and using various instruments to kind of bring it all together. And I think that pushes them up to the good tier in my eyes. Slayer, I'm going to put them in the garbage tier. Again, same thing as Anthrax, basically. Thrash doesn't sound all that good to me. You know, I think they've got maybe one song that I could possibly get down to, but other than that, it's like, I'm just not a big fan of thrash in general. You know, I think a lot of thrash is bad. So I guess that's my my take on it. Slipknot, I would put them in the legendary category. They, you know, I know that there's definitely some controversy surrounding, or some contention surrounding, you know, some of the stuff that they've put out in recent years, you know, and whether or not it should be constituted as Slipknot. But, you know, I've liked everything that I've heard from them. You know, and there are some songs that I absolutely love. Like All Out Life from their new album, which I don't even know if that album is out yet. I haven't really been paying attention. It shows how knowledgeable I am, but I love that song. You know, I think that is vintage Slipknot, you know, mixing in some modern elements to kind of create this new yet nostalgic sound, you know, and I can really get down with it. So yeah, Gojira, I'm going to also throw them up in the legendary category. I love the black metal, really isn't my thing, but I love their heavy, hard-hitting riffs. Dude, I like that. Flying Whales is my favorite song from them. You know, I love how, like, they'll take these, you know, unconventional approaches to writing their songs, for one thing. You know, in Flying Whales, it's 2 minutes at the beginning of just the same dun dun dun. You know, it's basically that over and over again for 2 minutes, and then it brings you into this hard hitting riff. You know, makes you want to fucking I don't know, headbang, you know, I guess. So that's why I have them up there. Avenged Sevenfold, also going to put them in the legendary category. I've listened to most of their discography, and they have got, I think, a lot more to them than people may realize. I know that they are considered kind of emo metal, you know, and that kind of turns people off. I can understand that. But, you know, I think that they've got some great acoustic songs that, you know, kind of deviate from their metal, you know, roots and their hard rock roots. And I also think that their latest musical endeavor, The Stage, is probably their best album to date. And their most progressive album as well. They experiment with a lot of different sounds and a lot of different elements of songwriting, and I think it ultimately, you know, shows how they've progressed as a band over time. And I think it's really good. I like it. Led Zeppelin, I think I'm gonna put them in the good category. You know, I love. Oh God. Here we go again. I'm blanking on the lead singer's name. It's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, I mean, basically what this should tell you is that you shouldn't listen to any of my opinions because I have no idea what I'm talking about. Robert Plant, that's who I was thinking of. I'm sure of it. Anyway, I've listened to not a lot, but some of their stuff, and everything I've listened to I've enjoyed. I love Robert Plant's vocals. I love the different experimentation that they do. To me, they're like their vintage prog rock, at its core. And I don't see any reason why I shouldn't put them in the good category, So there we go. Five Finger Death Punch, garbage tier. Very much garbage tier. Frankly, I don't even think they should be in this list. Among the rest of these bands, like they pale in comparison to to a majority of these bands that they even share the garbage tier with, like their lyrics are awful, like their lyricism is terrible, makes me want to cringe, until I guess, I implode or something. It's just everything that they put out is so, unbelievably cringeworthy. Not only that, but I can't really get down with the modern metalcore sound all that much. It feels like very overdone for one thing, but also, I can't stand the overproduction too, and that's very prevalent in Five Finger Death Punch's discography. So, gotta put them in the garbage tier for that reason. Polyphia, I'm going to put them in the meh tier. I haven't heard enough from them to really distinguish between good and meh, but they kind of, based on what I've listened to, they've got some good stuff for sure, but, there's only, it's just doesn't really do much for me at the end of the day, I like what they've done, but if it doesn't, instill some kind of feeling inside of me, then I can't really in good conscience put them in the good tier, so I'll put them there. Periphery, I'll throw into the good tier. I love the vocals from them. I think that they also have a wide range of sound and a wide discography that people, may not necessarily recognize. I've heard soft songs from them. I've heard very hard songs from them. And all of it has sounded good to me. No reason for me to put them anywhere below good, in my eyes whatsoever. And finally, Rush, I would also put in the good tier. Again, vintage prog rock at its core, same reason. Basically Led Zeppelin and Rush, in my eyes, are in the good tier for the same exact reasons. The vocals, I love the vocals. I love everything about those I'm trying to think of his name, but I can't. Go figure. About his vocals, and I love the progressive sound as well. I'm gonna point to Tom Sawyer, and I know that makes me a noob, I guess, or something. Whatever the proper terminology is, but I love that song. I think that is, shows who they are at their core. Mixing in some prog rock elements along with some more conventional rock elements as well, and I think it makes for good music all around. So this is my final setup. I obviously, if you got some problem with where I ranked things, you can let me know in the comment section below. If you have differing opinions, anything of that sort, I am open to having discussions. But this is where I kind of rank everything. And I would love to kind of figure out where I would rank these guys once I listen to more of their stuff. Don't really have enough of an an informed opinion to gauge where I would put them. But, you know, ultimately, this is my final list. I think it's a good ranking of where these guys sit in my own eyes. You know, and obviously, again, if you have differing opinions, let me know in the comment section below. I'm glad I could do this. It was fun. Went on for much longer than I thought it would. But hey, you know what? I'm just happy I got to jump on this trend. You know, hopefully it can bring the views in. I mean, that's really what we're going for here with this series. At the end of the day, you thought I was here to have fun and have a good time and talk about, you know, I mean, with respect to this episode, talking about where these bands rank. And no, I mean, at the end of the day, what we're here to do is to bring as many new people onto the channel as possible, you know, so that I can fucking reap the rewards and then, you know, go from there. I mean, the end goal, you guys know this, end goal is that I want to make money. You know, I mean, I don't really want to do anything else. Could care less about forming a community or interacting with my subscribers. It's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, hopefully this just brings in a bunch of new people. You know, the closer I can get to milking people for their money, the better. But anyway, that's it for this tier ranking video. I plan on doing a couple more if I can find some good tier rankings for things that I would be interested in. If not, then this will be the only tier ranking video that I do. But you know, we'll see. You know, I probably should have clicked on like presentation mode. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, maybe that would have been better, huh? Well, that's fine. Anyway, with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know in the comment section below. Like it, share with your friends. Mainly put out gameplay content on the channel, and that's what I intend on going with in the future. But I thought this would be fun, so I decided to do it. You know, subscribe to the channel for more content, for more gaming content mainly, but for more content like this as well. What else was I going to say? Thank you guys so much for watching. Love you very much, and I will talk to you later.